Hello guys, thanks for joining this session. In this session, we are going to understand security groups of AWS. So let's jump into the discussion. Let's look into the journey so far. So first we have understand that what is prior to the AWS. Then we have seen that two important jargons which is really important within AWS, that is regions and availability zones. Then we have also seen the lab, how we have set up the free tier account. After that, we have understand that how to use AWS management console. Then we have set up the billing alarm so that if our usage is reaching to our threshold limit, then it will notify us. So we have set up that billing alarm. Then we have understand that identity access management, and we have done the lab also. After identity access management, we have discussed about Elastic Cloud Compute, and we have done lab on that as well using manual steps with AWS management console. Then afterwards we have discussed about Elastic Block Store. Now we are into security group. So here we will discuss about the security group. So prior to discussing the security group, I wanted to share two concepts so that it would be easy to understand security group. So let's look into one diagram. So if you are seeing this diagram, then you will find that two terms, that is inbound and outbound. So why it is important to discuss inbound and outbound prior to discussing security group is that because security group is mainly used to handle inbound and outbound traffic. So what does it mean? So inbound is nothing but incoming traffic to access your EC2 instance, and outbound is related to outgoing traffic from your EC2 instance to access the internet. So all security group discussion will be goes around these two concepts. If you clear about inbound and outbound, you can easily understand security group. So now we understand that inbound and outbound. So now let's start our discussion about security group. Suppose that if you are having an EC2 instance, and you must be thinking that how you can allow and disallow other computer to access your EC2 instance. So here the security group concepts comes into picture. So within AWS, you can manage the security of EC2 instance with the help of security group. So basically security group act as a virtual firewall that controls the traffic for one or more instances, EC2 instances. When you launch an instance, you can specify one or more security group. If you will not specify any security group, then it will pick the default security group. You can add rules to each security group that allow traffic to or from its associated instances. Within AWS, the management of security group is really very easy. You can modify anytime the rules of security group or new rules which you have added into a security group that will be automatically applied to the instances that are associated with the security group. So look at this diagram. So it is representing the same thing. Here this is inbound traffic and outbound traffic, and here we are having the EC2 instance, and that will be managed by the security group. When we will do the lab session, then I will show you where you can write the inbound rule and where you can write the outbound rule. By default, inbound rule is not allowed, but outbound rule is allowed. So what it means, as I already explained in our inbound and outbound discussion, inbound means the request coming from the internet to access the EC2 instance is called inbound, and the request which is going from EC2 instance to the internet, that is outbound. So the question comes over here is that how do you manage inbound and outbound for a specific IP? Means how do you allow an IP to access the EC2 instance? So here comes the concept of security group rules. So security group rules which basically do the job of allow and disallow of an IP to access the EC2 instance. When we do the lab session, there I can show you so that you can better understand it. So let's now discuss about types of security group within AWS. So basically we have two types of security group. One is default security group and another one is the custom security group. So let's discuss one by one. So default security group is already exist within your AWS account along with default VPC. VPC we are going to discuss in further session of this course. So for a time being, just consider that it is a private cloud, virtual private cloud, which mainly company prefer to set up their cloud environment. So you must be remembering that whenever we are creating EC2 instance, then we need to provide the configuration detail while creating the EC2 instance, and we get an option to choose the security group. If you don't provide the security group at the time of creation of EC2 instance, then it will automatically pick the default security group for your EC2 instance. So if you closely look into that default security group, then you will find that it has a rule that allows all inbound traffic from other instance or say instances which is associated with the default security group can access each other, and outbound traffic from the instance is also allowed. So these are some of the important points for default security group. I will demonstrate you in our lab session where we will create an EC2 instance and we will look into how a default security group is being assigned if we don't provide any kind of security group to the instance. So now move further and let's understand that what actually custom security group is. So prior to discussing about custom security group, we must have to understand that in what scenario you can use the custom security group. Suppose if you are working for a company and that company has various departments like HR, finance, IT, and each department has their own EC2 instance, and you want to restrict the access of finance department from other department. So if you are going with a default security group option, then that is not really feasible options, as by default security group or say all instance has access to each other as they are belonging to a default security group. So you need a mechanism or a way by which you can handle the granular level of security for each instances. So here custom security group comes into picture. So you can create a different custom security group for each of the department, and you can associate or create a security group rules for each of the custom security groups, where you can handle the security requirement of the particular department. You can easily manage. I will show you in the lab where to define the security rules. So now we understand that custom security group. So we will stop over here and we will do all this thing in our lab sessions. Bye bye. Take care.